Hi there, it's Carol with Carol B Crafts. Today we'll be making this adorable little Happy Easter card, and inside it says "You are loved" with a little butterfly. And this stamp set, except for the Happy Easter, comes from this stamp set here, Blossoming Basket, and it's a celebration item, and you can't purchase this. You can only get this as a bundle through the celebration program, and it comes as a bundle with this basket weave folder, which I've used here in the background. And it's I'm fallen in love with this basket weave folder. It's the dynamic folder, which means with your Big Shot you only need to use one of the acrylic plates because it's actually a pretty thick folder for you. And I'm just loving this basket. And I'm using my Stamparatus today because that's a nice big stamp, and the Stamparatus is just made for detailed images like this. So let's get started. I'll give you the dimensions as we follow along, or I'll also put them on my website, www.carolbcrafts.com. Now if you're interested in getting this bundle, then all you need to do is go to my website and get the host code and go to stampinup.com. If you purchase $100 retail, that's before shipping and tax, you can choose to get the Blossoming Basket bundle from Stampin' Up, and because you use my host code, I will send you my Your Inspiring or Flying Home class kit. I also have a Picture Perfect birthday class kit that's available now too, if you'd prefer to have that. With that order, you'll get enough materials to make 6 cards and bonus projects as well. So check that deal out before you do your shopping if you want to pick up this bundle. Okay, so I have my Stamparatus, and I have a piece of Thick Whisper White, which is 3 1/8 by 4. And I've already figured out where I need to place my paper. So, because I've done other projects, so I'm just going to put this where I had it before. I'm using this as my guide, and I'll put these in place. And here's my stamp over here. You can see it's a nice big stamp, and I'm sorry about this glare. Let me see if I can do something about that. Now I've got my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm going to ink up my stamp. And I don't need to get a lot of ink on there. I just want to make sure I get a nice image. And that's what's great about the Stamparatus, is if you have a spot that you didn't get, you can come back and you can get it then. And I can see this flower right here needs a little help. It didn't quite all the image didn't come out. So I'm going to, and the basket as well needs a little bit of help. So I'm going to ink that up again and go ahead and make sure I press down where it needs to be pressed. And that looks better. I still need a little bit more right there in the middle of that flower. I will put some more there. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take this away, and I'm going to let this dry pretty well, because I'm going to be using my blender pens, my Stampin' blends, and I want to make sure this ink is good and dry before I start coloring it. Okay, we're going to start coloring our image, and I think it's best to start with the flowers. And I'm going to use my light Calypso Coral. I'm going to use the brush tip. And I've worked with this quite a bit, as you can see from all my attempts. This one I did a lot of shading, and I decided I didn't really like a large amount of shading because it made the ink kind of blur. So I decided to just do minimal shading, and I think that looks fine. I tried some watercoloring with ink and my water aqua brush. Didn't come out too good. This is just another goof here. the pencil. So you can see I worked quite a bit with this before I came up with, this one wasn't too bad, but then I messed up here. And I tried different shading techniques. So I tried pencils, coloring pencils with the blender pen, coloring pencils with the aqua painter, and the Stampin' blends just can't be beat for coloring these images. So it might be a good idea to pick some up if you can. Okay, so the thing that I learned about this image, and it's a detailed image, but it's also kind of it can be fooling. It fooled me a lot when I first started coloring it because of the petals. So just be careful. The thing that I learned, let me bring this in. The thing that I learned is it's best to just color lightly each petal first. Try to avoid the lines. So again, I have my light Calypso Coral Stampin' blend. Because when the lines get oversaturated, that's when they start to blur and blend. Take your time. Try to do like one petal at a time. When you go to the edges, don't go to the line and not over the line, or on the line if you can, so it doesn't bleed out. Okay, so I realized I did not stamp the Happy Easter, and I definitely want to stamp that before I finish coloring, because if I goof up on my stamp, the Easter stamp, then I have already colored it, I'm going to be really upset with myself. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive there. Put this down. I'm going to use my Stampin' jig for the Happy Easter. And the Happy Easter comes from the You're Inspiring stamps. That's this stamp set right here, and I'm going to be using the Happy Easter. So the Happy Easter is going to go right here. I'm going to use my Stampin' jig and my Memento ink and my Happy Easter stamp. So I have my plastic in place. I'm going to stamp down, and then that'll show me where I need to put my Happy Easter. And that looks about good right there. So I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I'm going to go straight down and straight up. Okay, now I can color without worrying about messing up my Easter, Happy Easter. Now while that first coat is drying, I'm going to do the leaves. For these pointy leaves, I'm going to use the light olive or old olive, and I'm going to use the brush tip. Now for these more teardrop shaped leaves, I'm going to use the dark old olive and brush tip. And with these, I found it's best to do the round part and then just kind of push the tip of your brush up towards there. These are the ones that gave me the most trouble. Okay, it's not perfect, but I'm gonna leave it like that because I don't want to try to get it any better. Next we're going to do the basket. And the basket we're going to use the light crumb cake, the dark crumb cake, and light gray. We'll start with the dark crumb cake and use the brush tip. And these little wicker, they're curved, where the wicker's curved, we're going to go underneath. And we don't have to be perfect. We're just trying to put some shadowing in. Then the light gray brush tip, we're going to come in here. These strips of wicker that go straight down, we're just going to go on each side of them. There's like little tiny triangle shaped things. Just going to add a little bit of shading there. And then with our light Stampin' Blend, the light crumb cake, we're going to use the brush tip. And we're just going to blend this all together. We'll start here. We're going to, don't get too heavy-handed. And just lightly add color and blend. And then you're just going to go avoid the edges. And then you'll do the edges. Okay, so the basket part is done. Now I'm going to do the handle, and we need our dark crumb cake back. And we're just going to put a tiny little dot above each one of these lines. That's just going to add just a tiny bit of shadowing. Now we'll get our light crumb cake brush, and I found that it's best if you hold your pen up straight up and down as much as you can and do each one of these individually. Okay, now you can leave it like this if you like. Well, we need to do the insides, and I use the dark Daffodil Delight brush tip for the insides of the flower. Now you could leave it like this if you'd like, but I wanted to do a little bit of shading. I'm going to use the light brush, the light Calypso Coral again. And where it's deep near the bottom, I'm going to avoid those lines, the black lines. I'm going to put in a little bit and make it a little bit darker and kind of blend it out a little. So that's for that flower, and now I'm going to go do it to this flower. And then this one. Okay. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of blending here. So we'll let this dry a little bit, and then we'll go in one more time and do some just near the base of these petals. Okay, that's enough. Now I realized I neglected to stamp the little hearts from that same stamp set. The inside, we need to stamp this, the inside, and the butterfly. And we're going to use our Stamp-A-Majig for that. Now I have a scrap piece of the Thick Whisper White to do the tag, and I'm going to use the little tag and some Memento black ink. Put this aside so it doesn't get ink on it. I think I would just scream if I mess that up right now. So we're just going to, I'll do a couple of that. Now for our inside sentiment, I have a piece of regular Whisper White, 3 inches by 4, and I'm going to go ahead and put that down on my sheet. I decided to use a scrap piece of graph paper rather than mess up my good paper down here. I'm just going to use a scrap piece of paper. I'll put my adhesive on and put it here. That gives my Stamp-A-Majig something to hang on to because it's such a small piece of paper. So I have my Stamp-A-Majig. I'll get the plastic, put that in place, and then I'll get my You Are Loved, which I think is a good message for Easter, to remind us that we are all loved, that we are not alone, but God loves us. And so we're going to go straight down and up. Underneath that is going to be a piece of Old Olive 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to use that to help me level it out so that I put it in level. And this is kind of a different font, so it makes it kind of harder to get it straight. So this really helps in that case. So I'm going to put my fingers down and remove the cardstock. Put this in place, remove the plastic, ink up my stamp, and go straight down and straight up. You are loved. Now for the butterfly that's on the inside, we're going to use our Stamp-A-Majig for that. Put that in place, get the stamp. I always use the D block no matter how small or big the stamp is, unless it's too big, because it works so well with the Stamp-A-Majig. And so I'm going to put my butterfly up here in this area. Make sure I get well inked. Okay, there's my butterfly. So let me clear this away. Okay, we're going to do some coloring, and we're going to use our light Calypso Coral brush tip to color the butterfly. And we're going to use the dark Calypso Coral, and we're going to color these little pieces here. You don't have to do this if you're afraid you'll mess up. But again, I'm going to start here at the fattest part and then just kind of push my brush up into that tight little corner up there at the top. Okay, so I'm also going to do these little hearts the same way, and I did 2 because it's easy to kind of go overboard with these hearts, as you can see. Let me try going from the bottom up. Now that seems to work better. But these are not going to be perfect. I think I like those better. Now this one we're going to cut out, the one we're going to use. We're going to cut it on the line. I'm not going to leave an edge. Okay, so I have my little tag for later. Now we're going to put our card together. Now I think I told you this is going to go on Old Olive 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to use my little waxy strip that's left over from the mini glue dots that we sell. We have 1/8 of an inch all around. And then this is going to go on this inside of our card. So again, I will all the dimensions will be on my website. So just search blossoming basket and this will come up. So this is going to go on the inside. So we'll get our thick Whisper White card base, fold it in half, and use our bone folder up here. And open it up. Now we're ready to do the card front. So we'll start with, let's see, we have thick Whisper White, thick Old Olive, regular Old Olive, then regular Whisper White, and then this piece of Calypso Coral. I've run through that basket weave folder that comes with this bundle, and I just love that texture. I think it's really cool. So we'll go ahead and put this on top of our white. Now this is, okay, so our basket weave embossed panel is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And we're going to take this and on the back, we're going to measure 1/2 an inch from the bottom. Not 3, 1/2 an inch from the bottom, and make a mark. Now we have 2 pieces of 6-inch, 1/8 inch sheer ribbon, Old Olive 1/8 inch sheer ribbon. We have 2 pieces that are 6 inches and 1 piece that is 8 inches. That's for the bow. So the 2 pieces that are 6 inches, we're going to take 1 piece, find our mark, and we have to put some adhesive there, about 1.5 inches, 1 inch away from the edge and 1.5 inches above that mark. We're going to put one end of our, probably need to put a little below that mark as well, just to hold that in place. So we're going to put maybe 3/4 of an inch just above that line, bring it around and put 3/4, find that line and put it just above that line, push it in the adhesive. Then we're going to bring it around to the other side. We want about 1/16 of an inch in between these two. Push it in the adhesive, bring it around, and oops, I got the wrong piece. I got the 8-inch piece. That's for the bow. I wondered why it was so long. Okay, so we have this 6-inch piece that's about 1/16 of an inch between them. Bring it around and put that in the adhesive. Now this is ready to go on our Whisper White panel, which is 4 by 5 1/4. So we'll put that on. And I'm going to use some extra adhesive because this is embossed and I want it to stay in place. I'll use my little waxy strip. It just acts as a barrier in case I need to make some changes. And it looks like there's a 1/16 of an inch all around. Now this is ready to go on our old olive, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And now this is ready to go on the front of our card. Now the old olive piece here that's going to go behind our piece of thick whisper white, it is across here 3 1/4 by 3 5/8. 3 1/4 by 3 5/8. And we want to put it here, and we want a 1/4 of an inch at the top and the bottom. And I'm just going to put some adhesive here where I know it won't show. And a 1/4 of an inch at the top and a 1/4 inch on the side. It doesn't have to be exact, it just needs to be straight. Now this is going to go on with a mini dimensionals and large dimensionals. So the mini dimensionals will go on the old olive part. And the regular dimensionals will go down here on the white part. And I'll take these backings off. Okay, I have all the backs off. Now I'm going to put this on the front of my card. And I want it even spacing from here to here and from there to there. And even at the top, I think. So it's even spacing all 3 sides. Just want to make sure that this is like right over your bottom ribbon, like that. All right, so they only have a couple things left to do. Now if you here's our little, let me get it, it's so small. I'll get our little tag, and we need to make our bow, so we'll need our 8-inch piece of the 1/8 inch sheer old olive ribbon, and we're just going to make our 2 loops. We do this pretty much a lot, so hopefully you're used to it by now. So we have our 2 loops like this. The right one crossed over the left so that it looks like this, and then this one's going to go around the back and through that loop, and we're going to try to keep everything flat, push it through that loop, and then pull the loops and adjust the bow. Now this is a tiny bow, so we can start adjusting it pretty small. Okay, that looks about right, and that's going to go here. So let's cut off our tails. Now before we put this on, we're going to decide where we want it, and it looks like, and you also have to decide which side you like best. I think I like this one best. And so my tag is going to go somewhat here, I think, right about there. So let me get my glue dot. Oh, I'm going to mark that with my pencil. Just a little mark so I know where I want my tag. Get my glue dots. Put a glue dot here in the back, up at the top part. So I actually want to kind of bend it up in the back to make it kind of stand out. Find my mark. Alright, so see how it's kind of standing out because I bent it just a little bit. Okay, yeah, there's my bow now. I want this to be the back of my bow, so I'm going to put a piece, I'm going to stick it on a glue dot. The knot is going on top of a glue dot, and then I'm going to pinch it. And then I'm just going to try to move some of that glue dot towards the center so it doesn't show. And put it, move it to the back. And then I'm going to put it just above my tag, and I want it kind of slanted this way, and then we have our card. So we have our cards. Thanks for watching. Check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com if you'd like to see how you can get a free card class kit just by purchasing $60 retail from Stampin' Up using the host code on my website. I hope you get a chance to make one of these darling little Easter cards and use the Blossoming Basket bundle. Thanks for watching. Bye now.